Greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome, welcome, family. Welcome, folks. We appreciate your leadership, your punctuality, your diligence. And we're going to give it about 1 minute to make sure that all the folks that are joining from the various regions are able to join and participate and engage. It's good to see you, Mandy. It's good to see you, Brother Kwamina. It's good to see you, Sandra. It's good to see you, Monique. It's good to see you, Dr. Joan. Good to see you, Odo. It's good to see you, Vicky. It's good to see many of you. I appreciate your leadership. It's good to see you, Shayna. It's good to see you, Jonas. So we want to welcome our beloved and remarkable sister, Tiffany Calender, the CEO and co-founder of the Federation for African Canadian Economics, or FACE Coalition, for phenomenal work. But before we begin, because we're 2 minutes past the hour, and I want to make sure that we have the time to really engage meaningfully. Greetings, Effia. We want to begin by, as always, acknowledging our creator, our ancestors, and the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all those whose bones lie at the bottom of the transatlantic, all those who said freedom or death. We acknowledge all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it off before we introduce our beloved colleague, Tiffany, to my brother, Obi. If you can please share for all of us the remarkable Beck and Dream Legacy video.
Step into the transformative Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, BEC, a pivotal federal Black entrepreneurship program component. In partnership with Cote University's Sprott School of Business and Dream Legacy Foundation, BEC endeavors to revolutionize our comprehension of Black entrepreneurship in Canada. Beyond a mere hub, BEC encompasses 6 regional research hubs, generating vital data to empower Black founders nationwide. Discover the stories of Black entrepreneurs in the Dream Legacy Foundation, spearheading BEC initiatives nationwide. We unite a community of entrepreneurs, nonprofits, schools, and researchers. As a central hub, Dream connects individuals and supports Black entrepreneurs in Canada. Join our live Zoom sessions on Thursdays at 2 p.m. EST to acquire new skills and be part of the exciting journey. What else does the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub offer? Delving into the role of a database for Black entrepreneurs in Canada, BEC provides a potent networking tool linking entrepreneurs with like-minded individuals, partners, mentors, and advisors. Navigate the Black entrepreneurship ecosystem with BEC's map. Engage in surveys representing Black voices accurately, contributing to a nuanced understanding of diversity in entrepreneurial landscapes. Amplify your voice by completing the survey and be a vital force in shaping the narrative of Black businesses' success in Canada. Join us in building a thriving future for Black entrepreneurship. Let's join forces to shape the future of Black entrepreneurship in Canada, amplifying our stories, experiences, and collective impact for a thriving and successful community. For more resources that support Black entrepreneurs, click on this link.
So once again, we appreciate you all for being so punctual in your leadership. And please, please fill out the survey, be involved in the ecosystem mapping work that's being done by Carlton, by Beck, and by the Dream Legacy Foundation. Dream has been pushing this heavily over the course of this Black History Month leadership series. And it's important to not just be counted, but to impact public policy and, more importantly, advance the socioeconomic circumstances of people of African descent across our great nation. So please engage in this survey. The survey link will be added to the chat. But with no further ado, I want to introduce our beloved, remarkable, and phenomenal colleague and the CEO and co-founder of the FACE Coalition, my colleague Tiffany Callender. Tiffany has been working in the community economic development sector, the community development sector, and as far as I'm concerned, on behalf of our ancestors and our ascendants, our children's children, for more than I'm actually not going to date my sister. So your work is timeless and precious to us all. But the fact remains that you represent us well and you make our ancestors proud. And I'm not going to read your bio because it has way too many accolades. Tiffany's been, awarded in Forbes, and the accolades speak to not just her character and her tenacity, but her resilience. And the fact that she consistently shows up for our community and shows out. So Tiffany, I'm going to have you introduce yourself to the folks here that joined us very punctually, all 50 of you so far within 6 minutes. We appreciate you. Go ahead, Tiffany.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Brother Victor. I want to say happy Black History Month or happy Black Futures Month. I heard one of my colleagues say that not a few weeks ago, and it's something that I think I align myself with. I had an interview once upon a time, and I said that I think Black History Month should be used as a point of reference when we come back together and see what we accomplished over the last year, because we're building the history every day that we do something in our actions and the way that we support community. So thank you, Brother Victor, and thank you everyone for being here. Well, if I were to introduce myself, I would say that I am a community worker. I've worked every job possible in a community center because I'm in love with the idea of helping to find and craft and develop solutions and points of access to our community so that they can build a future for themselves that they see and that they want to attain. What I think is interesting about my journey is that I've exclusively only worked for the Black community. So I'm going on 21 years. So I'm going to date myself, Brother Victor, 21 years exclusively working for the Black community. So that means half of my natural life, which is pretty insane. And it also means that I've never worked for a YMCA. I've never worked for an organization that had the mandate to serve all. I had a very specific mandate, and it was to serve my own. And I'm very humbled and proud, and I feel privileged to be able to do that work because it's a cause that makes you get up in the morning and not necessarily worry about how many hours you work that week or what you are supposed to achieve in terms of KPIs. The KPI is the betterment of your people. And there's no better motivation in my life, I think, for that. Apart from the three human beings that I that I serve as well. I'm a mother, so I like to add that label, and I'm a daughter, and I'm a sister, and I think I'm just a good old fashioned girl who is just stubborn enough to decide that we gonna make it no matter what, and whatever brick I have to carry to help to build that house that we'll call our own, then I do that.
Ashay, that's absolutely beautiful, fam. When I think about the mandates of FACE and I think about the heavy lifting over the past few years and really having to build literally Canada's first Black CDFI, like when you look at the history of socioeconomic development and community economic development, community finance, social finance, impact investing, anything where capital is being used to deploy good work in our community, our people have been left behind for a very long time. But when we go south of the border in terms of Turtle Island, there's been community development financial institutions, CDFIs, for decades. The civil rights movement actually helped establish this. So when I think about the context of Canada and the vibrant ecosystem of social finance in Quebec, when I think of all the Indigenous financial institutions, I think there's about 70 IFIs. When I think about the 260 community futures associations of rural economic power, and when I think about our community, you pioneering this work of FACE, to me, is not just legendary, but it creates a legacy for our ascendants and those that are coming behind us. So I'm bringing all this up to give us some context on the word longevity and sustainability to you. Like, what do those words mean to you in the context of FACE? And for those that don't know, give us some context on FACE's mandates and where we've come so far.
Yeah, no, those are all fantastic points. And I think it's important to recognize, I had the opportunity to speak with a few of our community elders who helped to build way before I was born, right? So we always remember that we are building on a legacy of other people who have lifted their brick, and we are there now adding our own and creating a path for the next wave of, leadership that we want to see come to the forefront. And this was the third attempt actually to have a federally supported Black entrepreneurship strategy. So I don't want to pretend that we came up with something that was unthought of or even had been not attempted. We were just the bolt that was able to penetrate the plank, right? And this was for me a huge piece because I never looked at FACE, the Federation of African Canadian Economics, as a program. I always called it an institution because I really believe that our children's children need to have the opportunity to be able to know when they come into themselves and figure out what their gifts, their talents, their skills are, that if they wanted to start a business, the first thing they would think of is the Black bank that's available to them to be able to have access to capital, because other communities have that. If I were to give a parallel that was very encouraging to myself and our co-founders, and you mentioned the indigenous financial institutions, the IFIs. And Victor, you speak in code like I do. So I'm gonna unwrap some of those things so that folks can get hip to these things and learn about them. So the indigenous financial institutions are supported by an institution called NACA, which is basically the indigenous forerunner to what I would say is FACE, where they were given 30 years ago a contribution of $25 million by the federal government, and now they stand on $3.5 billion in disbursements into indigenous communities through those indigenous financial institutions. So when you see that type of infrastructure that is built over time supporting a very specific community, you can't help but be inspired and also understand, when you've worked as long as I have in the community, that that's what we need. Before working at FACE and working on the strategy that became the organization called FACE, I worked in Quebec. I'm a Montrealer, born, raised, and stayed. And I worked on an entrepreneurship strategy here that was brought about by, another fun fact, the first Black woman to be named to the National Assembly, Yolande James. And she had an entire study done on the experience of being Black in Quebec. There was recommendations, and one of them was that entrepreneurship should be encouraged. And there was an entrepreneurship strategy that was put in place. And I had the opportunity to be the manager of the English-speaking Black initiative in Quebec. For those of you who are with us, in different parts of Canada or from around the world, in Quebec, it is the French-speaking province of the country that we live in, Canada. And because of that, Black people who are English-speaking, I never say Anglophone, or English-speaking, are double minorities. So we're visible minorities and we're language minorities. So I was very happy to contribute to that strategy to make sure that resources, support was available to Black entrepreneurs from the English-speaking community in Quebec. But all of that to say is that when we envisioned FACE, myself, at the time, I was the executive director of one of the oldest Black organizations in Quebec, along with other organizations and their leadership from different parts of the country, namely BBI, Groupe 3737 as well here in Quebec, who serves majoritarily the French-speaking community, BBPA in Ontario, and Africa Center out in Alberta. We understood that the type of institution that is required for our community is not just related to capital, is related to capacity building. And of course, it's related to what is the data, what do we need to know and understand about the Black business community of Canada, and what is their contribution to the economy of Canada? What are the things that they need to be able to contribute more efficiently and effectively to that economy? And that's where the Knowledge Hub comes in. So if you think about it in pillars, capital, support, and data, and that's knowledge, right? So when we looked at our mandate under the BEP, so we helped to co-design and bring about the historic Black entrepreneurship program. That's an investment of $330 million from the federal government into those three pillars that I described. And FACE became the steward of the $160 million of that, which is managed as the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund. So our mandate is to disperse capital to Black-owned businesses across the country, up to $250,000. So we offer debt financing, and this falls into two categories: a micro lending program, which is in pilot form right now, soon hopefully to change. Stay tuned. Which is $10,000 to $25,000, and then the larger loan program, which is from $25,000 up to $250,000. And this is done in collaboration with partners such as, well, the Government of Canada, obviously, the BDC, Alterna Savings, and Vancity. And when we started this program, which was in May 2021, you can imagine we are in the middle of COVID. This initiative in terms of working with government came about with a lot of vigor, with the community really being responsive, answering questions, being involved in dialogue. And then when you get the word that government says, yes, we are going to invest in this for the community, now the rubber hits the road, and now you have to build the institution that will deliver the services. And so when Victor speaks to where have we been or where are we? Well, we are now, we're just going to be 3 years old shortly. And we've already almost dispersed, we've approved up to almost $50 million, which is over 580 companies have been approved across this country, all Black owned, 51% Black owned, in all different types of services and industries. So it's a remarkable story that I'm very proud to be a part of. And I recognize everybody who put, their hand in to make sure that we could get to this point. And we want to make sure that this is something that has continuity and legacy, because as I mentioned, if we can look backwards at NACA with 25 years and be at 3.5 billion, then we have to be just as steadfast to make sure that 25 years from now, there is not only a FACE coalition, but there's a robust ecosystem that is there that can offer the services to the later generation. We have the data available to us that describes not only where we've been, but where we're going, what trends we set, how we contribute to the economy of Canada. These are the things that are imperative for us to ensure economic sovereignty for our community, because entrepreneurship is one of those levers that can be pulled to give us financial autonomy, but also create generational wealth, which is what our mission is, I believe, in our generation to achieve.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for your remarkable leadership, visionary leadership, but also your humility. The fact that you were able to, one, speak to the 3 other attempts by our elders and maybe some even ancestors that have transitioned around this work. So I think that's powerful, but more importantly, there's a Malawi proverb that I love. The only thing more precious than your children is your children's children. So that forward-thinking framework of building infrastructure similar to our beloved colleague Shannon at NACA, and Sarah McNeil and Frank Richter and those folks, because they have a templates. And I think that when we look at equity denied groups and finding ways to center justice, access, inclusion, diversity, decolonization, and equity, FACE is a model. But more importantly, you also provided context on the program that was developed. And that's why we're here today. If it wasn't for the work as well, Dream Legacy Foundation and the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, we wouldn't have a place to house that data. We wouldn't have a place to advance the ecosystem. So all these are pillars that are pushing us forward as a community. And the importance of high quality disaggregated demographic data in this time is so vital in terms of being able to show and prove. Because no one really cares about moral persuasion anymore. It's about evidence. And I think that you're doing the work, and I applaud you for that. So my next question is, what challenges and barriers are you facing right now in your work in the ecosystem? Or if you want to reframe it, what challenges and barriers are you hearing from entrepreneurs on the ground?
Right. What I've known since, now I am going to date myself, 2010, in doing this work in Quebec with Black entrepreneurs, because our Black Canadian experience has nuances and it's different, but there are many more commonalities than there are differences. And the theme that I've been hearing since 2010 is that entrepreneurs who have maybe, who have a desire to start a business or are in business, do not necessarily have access to, or there is not an efficient way to engage them, to pull them into networks or programming that would allow for them to amass the capacity that they need to strengthen their business at its core. So the core fundamental things that are required for a business to be efficient, meaning best practices, understanding, look at now where we are with technology. Now we are all in a data transformation where understanding how technology can support and make more efficient your business is critical, because we are moving into a space where AI is going to be the thing that is going to change fundamentally how all businesses function and how they perform. But coming back to, again, that's about, best practices, having good ideas of good systems, having access to proper knowledge and resources. And resources is, we always think of money, but resources is really information. It's quality information. It's understanding what you need to put in place for your business to work well. And a part of that, everything that I just described, is the journey to becoming finance ready. So whether you are going to apply for debt capital, whether you're going to now go for equity, you're going to now try to get partners, people to invest in your business, you have to understand fundamentally how your business works, how to generate revenue, how you are creating profit, because that's what actual investors care about. So these key things are things that since 2010, although my community has never been short of desire, even afraid of hard work or the ability to grind and get something done, those fundamental key pieces to strengthening their business from the onset or to optimize it while it's running has not been made available to them. And that often thwarts their journey towards being finance ready. So I meet business owners who have been in business, and I've been across this country now, probably about twice, meeting Black communities and Black entrepreneurs. If people say, I've been running a business for 10 years, and, my business is making money, everything's going well, and I need a loan. And I go, okay, do you have a business plan? And they're like, no, I don't have a business plan. Did you ever write a business plan? No. Okay. How do we get you on the road to being finance ready? Because beyond wanting to come get capital from Face, anywhere you go, you are going to have to demonstrate what is your business? How does it work? How is it positioned in the market? What makes you different? And what do you project as its performance? And that is a business plan. And it is a living document that should guide you and really create the blueprint to how you move and how you're going to scale your business. So I would say absolutely one of the echoes that I hear from the community is, I want capital, but I am not prepared and do not have the tools to be able to apply for capital. This is why, although we have about 36,000 accounts open on our Face platform, we have only about 8 to 10% that were able to submit their applications completed, which includes a business plan, financial projections, financial statements, their tax schedules up to date. So those fundamental things, Brother Victor, is what we need to work on as a community, because we are here to support and invest in your business, but we also cannot neglect due diligence and the ability to understand the investment that we're making. So that is one thing I would say from the community side. From the work that I do day to day, as far as ensuring that we build a strong foundation for this institution, that has been my preoccupation. And we scaled this company, Face, very, very quickly. We now have 47 employees that are working at this organization and have come from all different sectors, who have either worked in communications for governments, who have worked in banking for over 10, 20 years. And the collective contribution of all of these people makes it that we're able to stand on the results that we have right now. But that was definitely the biggest challenge, was raising the organization to meet the demand of community. Because I think, Brother Victor, I think we spoke about, I think maybe like a few hours or a day after the first day when we opened the portal. And I told you within an hour, 3,000 people had created Face accounts and started to work on it. And it was it's something that I'll remember for the rest of my life, because the digital team let me look at a hot map, where I could see where across the country the activity was. And this map was lit up. So it was understanding in that moment of leadership, I have to rise to the occasion of the demand of what my community is asking for. And also being able to reach them with not only empathy, but to be ready to build solutions for them wanting to attain what they're asking for, right? Wanting to do something and being prepared to do it is two different things. But I have to stand in the gap of both of those things. I got to be with you before, when you wanted it, and I need to be there to help you get ready to get it. So this is the work and the challenge that it's been. But, without challenges, what is life, right?
Indeed, indeed. And I couldn't agree more in terms, and thank you. We have over 70 entrepreneurs in the space. And when our beloved sister speaks about business plans, your tax schedule, your finances, it's all roads, even cash flow, your EBITDA. Like, what is an EBITDA?
Yeah,
and these are things
right.
that are so important to know. Yeah. And the importance of being not just financial readiness, but investment ready and even export ready. The fact that the Black community still doesn't have a strong relationship with Export Development Canada and the global Black diaspora is a conversation that should be had. So the work that Face is doing is, for me, monumental in so many ways. That's why I'm so grateful for Monique and Isaac and Dream Legacy Foundation for their work. And then elders like Elder Susan Henry. I saw Susan here, who's been championing this work for decades.
Oh, yes.
And even to the fact that when you speak at these events, a lot of times we have to edify the entrepreneurs in our community to understand what due diligence looks like. Like
Yeah.
you have a loan to loss ratio that you have to manage.
Mhm.
Ensure that not only are your T's and I's crossed, but so are the entrepreneurs. It's not a free for all. So I think that once again, it comes back to community capacity building, community capacity strengthening, and really just getting to a place where we operate from a place of grace, mercy, compassion, but also deep understanding of what entrepreneurship really is about. And it shouldn't be about an individual, it should be about the socioeconomic circumstance of our community. So
100%. I want
yeah,
to
yeah.
add to that too, if you allow, Brother Victor. I think that the key to any success with a community strategy is that we have to understand that we're all playing a different role, but we all have the same goal that we're trying to achieve. So my job is to explain to the entrepreneur or any entrepreneur that this is what it's going to require in order for you to deliver, to be able to receive what we are delivering as members of your community. And that is an education. We say education very flippantly sometimes, or we often put it in the understanding of like formal education, all that. No, we have to educate each other in the processes and systems that we're building to strengthen each other. It's a swap of knowledge. It's the same thing like when you go and you sit on the bus and you talk to somebody and they give you some knowledge you didn't know and you give them some knowledge that they may not have known. That's the idea. And it's never from a place of access granted, access denied. No, this is about strengthening each other in our ability to understand, because I am playing a role within community and I'm mindful of certain things that I'm responsible for. Like you mentioned, this is a historic program delivered, crafted, and administered by Black people. The burden, which I'm glad to shoulder with many people beside me, co-founders, board members, staff, everybody, partners, mentioned Susan Henry, all of these people, is that we have to build what I like to call an Obama house. It's got to be so clean. It's got to be pristine. It has to, and that doesn't mean we're not going to make errors, but it means that we have to be extremely mindful that the first layer of this house, which is the foundation that we're building, is strong, is solid. So whatever is built thereafter, it will stand the test of time. That's the idea. So yes, we have to share with each other. I could never stand in a pretentious stance and say, well, I'm the one who gives the loans and you didn't qualify. That doesn't work. My job is to be able to say, you may not have qualified, but let's dig down. Let's figure out why. Let's get you connected to an organization that can help you build on your business case. Let's create programs like the Propelling Black Entrepreneurship Program that we did with TD. Let me connect you with Black accountants and tax experts who can help you to get those tax schedules done. I have work to do to make sure that you get to being finance ready, because we have a common objective. My job is to make sure that Black entrepreneurs get financed, and your job is to be an excellent entrepreneur. We do that together in tandem.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. When I think about the convenings that I've attended through the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub and the work the DLF, the Dream Legacy Foundation, is doing, once again, it comes back to that importance of capacity strengthening. And I think that is at the forefront, because you have so many businesses in our community that have been operating for 10, 20, 30 years, and they're unincorporated.
There's that part, right? And they could scale. And these could be the companies that they build such internal understanding of the market, the industry, the segment that they're in, their clientele that they serve. If they are then structured to be able to receive debt or equity, these companies scale. And then you know what they do? They create jobs. And now our community gets employed. And now our young people have their first job experience in a Black-owned business. And now we start on a very healthy, prosperous cycle of being able to have our autonomy in many different ways. So I didn't mean to jump in on you, but that part excites me the most. It's that how do we get these folks who have built in, who have what I call natural business sense, knowledge, they've got it, they're running businesses. How do we just infuse? And that's why I like the word infuse. It's to enhance something that already exists, to then become more potent, stronger, effective. That's what we want, because those are going to be our medium-sized businesses. Those are the ones. And then those become the ones that we can also sell when those people are ready to retire to younger Black business owners, so that they inherit a business that is vibrant and healthy and has a good book. You see, so it's this type of, understanding that we have to get as a community.
Ashe, Madasi Papa, my sister. When I tell you, you're speaking my language, and that's visionary talk right there. I can't imagine. I can imagine a world when Black entrepreneurs are talking about, oh yeah, I'm on my second exit. You know what I mean? Those are the type of conversations that we want our people to be having. So in terms of, it's a perfect segue. In terms of the future of the Black entrepreneurship ecosystem in Canada, how do you feel? Are you feeling optimistic, pessimistic? Are you feeling hopeful? Do you see barriers? How do you feel about this?
You don't do this for 20 plus years to then, be pessimistic. That's never the goal. The goal is to remain optimistic, but to remain realistic. And, whenever I get in these forums where I get a chance to have a conversation with someone like you, but with an audience that is us, I always want to bring in, a cold dose of reality that we have to assimilate as a community. I'm including myself always. When we think about what we've achieved as a community, to have our government invest in Black entrepreneurship, to allow that our taxpaying dollars would now be recycled and invested directly in our growth, that is one flag in the sand that we've achieved. But there's a distance to go, and we all have a role to play in that. So sometimes I feel as though there's the us and the them situation. So we, the community, and them, the community leaders, y'all need to go ahead and make sure that we get the things that we need as a Black community. And I go, woo, flag on the play, hold up. We all play a role in this thing called community development for our benefit. If the first flag was planted and we were able to deliver under this program results that we now want to see continue, our role is to be diligent in delivering those services that we accounted and signed to government and said, we will be the stewards of these mandates. I will ensure that these loans are distributed. I will ensure that I have a board of directors that manages governance. I will ensure that we have human resources that are qualified, and this loan book will be managed correctly and efficiently. And then you have the Knowledge Center. Today we're here because of the Knowledge Hub, and they are responsible to ensure that they do research, critical research in 6 different parts of the country with different universities to make sure that they're collecting the necessary data and doing an analysis of who we are as a Black business community. And then you have the ecosystem organizations across the country who've also signed to say that they're going to help Black entrepreneurs deliver on becoming small and medium-sized businesses. That's what we've signed up to do. And where we need the community, where we become a we, is that we require the community to, yes, give us feedback, constructive criticism, allow for us to understand how we continue to meet and better meet your needs. But we also need your voices behind us when we go back to government and we say to government, this initial investment is exactly that, it's initial. We require for you to continue to invest in our community with our tax dollars. We require the independence and the autonomy to grow and understand how we are going to be positioned to this country that we already contribute to heavily, despite the fact that the data is not always shown because it's aggregated, right? Despite the fact that it's often only highlighted in the shortest month of the year. We have to go as a we and say, this must continue. No matter what, even if it is not perfect to some people's eyes or as efficient as we need it to be immediately, we also have a right as a community to grow. We are allowed to have growing pains. We are allowed to have learning curves. These are things that we are entitled to. And we have to stand together and say to stakeholders and decision makers, this investment that you've made in our community needs to continue because we are Canadians. And we deserve, based on who we are and what we've endured in this country, to have the chance to create a desirable future for ourselves with your support. I didn't want to preach. I think there's somebody, or maybe they have a question. Maybe
Obi, you're gonna have to mute that person.
Yeah. But ultimately, what I would say is that it's important. I think when I talk, it gives a little bit of reverb. Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you, but I'm not in control. Obi, are you there?
Yeah, it's not. It might be one of
Someone
you
maybe Rita.
guys,
There he
or
goes. No, you got it. I think Rita. Thank you, Sister Rita, if you
okay.
did that. Thank you. What I was saying is that I never come into these spaces to preach at anybody. What I'm doing is trying to have a conversation with my community so that we can move forward together. When I decided that this was going to be my 9 to 5, and I say that with a big smile because when you're working for your community, there isn't a bit, Brother Victor is laughing too. In the fine print, it'd never be a 9 to 5. I can't put this down even when I want to sometimes. But I signed up to do that because that's the role I wanted to play. But I also play the role of somebody who works with community to help to understand other mandates that are being done on our behalf. I'm also somebody who brings my children to activities so they understand that they're a part of a larger community. I also take myself to vote. I also engage with politicians to let them know every time I can get a chance, these are the things that you need to pay attention to in our community, and that necessarily are not related to FACE or the work that I'm doing, because it's what we need. So I say that not to sound preachy or not to sound as though I'm enforcing anybody to behave a certain way. I'm saying that because the only way we're going to have a common understanding and start moving in a direction where we're going to get where we need to be is if we have these conversations with each other. So just wanted to deposit that gently in the conversation to say it's a we thing. It's a we factor. It can never be an us and a them.
Ashe, and please feel free to preach. I was about to, listen, I feel a great testimony coming around this work over the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades, 5 decades, so I know this work will span the test of time, especially with leadership like yourselves. So the next question I have is, what is your ultimate goal and what does success look like and feel like to you and your team?
Okay, so short-term goal. We need to, one, make sure that this loan program continues to trend in a positive direction. So year over year, we had 112% increase of loans that were done from year 1 to year 2. I love that. That means that we are showing up and the community is showing up. So that's fantastic. We have almost touched every jurisdiction in Canada, which we need to continue to push forward and let all Black communities across the country know that this program is available to them, and continue to demonstrate where they can get the support to be finance ready and then be ready to come to FACE for financing. In the short term, we need to take our micro lending program national. Because the word pilot gives me the heebie-jeebies. I need to make sure that the resources and the tools that we have, the programs we have, are available across the country to everyone. We need to be prepared for our second capital raise. So that means going now and getting private capital involved with FACE, which you'll hear hopefully some good announcements in the near future about that as well. We need to bring partnerships on board. We have great partners in community organizations, but I need Bay Street to respond to us. And you will also hear an announcement out next week about that as well at FACE. So in the short term, these are the key things. We have to continue to build the infrastructure at FACE to be able to continue to be efficient and to see this upward trend in terms of lending to our community. I think also we need to make sure that our program is available. Both of our programs are available across the country to all entrepreneurs to reach them at the stages that they're at. We definitely need to see Bay Street and partnerships that have an understanding that they're coming to support our initiative and to understand that there is a mission behind it. So this is not about bottom lines and even be able to check off a diversity box. This is about equity, and this is about being sincere and in your intention to ensure that all Canadians have the opportunity to create the futures that they want in this country. And the last thing that I would say in the short term is that we need to make sure that we are efficient in evangelizing what we do for community. So being present in all different Black communities. In the long term, as I mentioned, this is an institution for me. This is a place where we will not just address entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is one lever that can be pulled to create generational wealth, which is our vision and our mission at FACE. But there are other strategies. We have to work on financial literacy for our community. We have to look at housing and acquisition of land and home ownership. We have to look at ensuring that we are able to understand what investments look like. So that's a part of financial literacy, but it's a little bit of a different side of that. There are many different pillars that have to be built into place where community comes in and is able to be infused with the proper information to make decisions for themselves and their families so that they can create generational wealth. We are an institution that pulls together the resources for them to act on the desired future for their families, right? And when you change a family, you change a community, and eventually you change a nation. So this for me is the long-term goal. But I would say that the flag that I see, again, and I mentioned it, it's building the foundation so that 25 years from now, there'll be a young person sitting in a conversation with, like this and says, we are at the 25th anniversary of, the FACE Coalition, and we've lent X billion, and we do X, and we have this many investments in our portfolio. And that's the kind of thing that I would have as a long-term vision. But I will play my part as the inaugural CEO to make sure that they're set up for that trajectory.
You represent as well, and amplifying economic wellness and wealth for Black Canadians. FACE is doing it day in and day out. And I think that when it comes to this work, we have to have macro patience, but micro, urgency. Macro patience in knowing that 50 million will turn into 500 million, will turn into 5 billion. And that will occur through diligence and leadership and tenacity. But the fact remains that we have to, so macro patience, but micro urgency, that day in, day out, that I see you do. And it's never been a 9 to 5. I've known you for years, and you're a 9 to 9 person. So my last question before I go to Q&A, because I saw a couple questions in the chat to you, my beloved sister, is a lot of people talk about rest as a form of resistance. How do you approach rest? I know that's a lot of burden is related at your feet, on your shoulders, on your team, on your board, but how do you approach rest as a form of resistance?
I will be very honest. I am going to have to be as stern with myself as I am with the work that I do to be able to really build proper rest into my world. Now, listen, I have 3 kids. So there's a point where the body just says, get somebody else to do it. And it lies down so it can get up the next day to do what it has to do. But that is not full rest. I think I'm good at physical rest. So I sleep really well. That I do. Funny enough, I sleep really well. But I need to, there is mental rest, there's spiritual rest. Like, when do I get to just disconnect from this machine? And I call it a machine because that's what it feels like. You're in this thing that you're cranking and you're listening to all the little clicks and hinks, and you want to try to make sure that it's running as well as it does, but it does have a burden on it. I do believe rest is a form of resistance. Sometimes I get on a plane and I go somewhere and I lie down on the beach, and I try to just read books that I want to read. They're always Black focused, though. I have to start reading Dribble, I guess. I don't know. And I try to laugh with my kids, and we like Wordle. We play Wordle. I like to, I do try. My friends are patient with me, and they come when I'm like, hey, we should hang out, because they know sometimes I forget to do that. I'm going to the Marley's concert in March. I feel pretty good about that. I bought those tickets. I decided I was going. So rest is a part of it. I'm going to do better, because I know that if I want to show up properly for myself, my children, my community, then I have to do that better. So I'm being honest. I'm being transparent today. I will do better. Hold me accountable, guys. Ask me when you see me. Hey, Tiff, you still resting? You doing what you got to do? Ask me.
I asked that question just to hold you, because I know how you work. I see the emails. I know.
It was a trick question. It was a setup, ladies and gentlemen. It was a gotcha question.
Yeah, we have to protect you. We gotta protect you. We have to protect you. So we see have 2 hands up. Sister Effia, then Dr. Joan. Good to see you.
Hello. First of all, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Effia Kachanan, and I am the founder and visionary behind African Royalty. I did want to ask a question. If FACE intends to branch out into the US, the Caribbean, Africa, and are there, any plans for a global, for the global Black diaspora?
Thank you so
And
much.
where are you based, Effia?
Pardon, Victor? I didn't hear what you said.
Where are you based, Effia?
Oh, so I'm based in Toronto,
Mhm.
just outside of Toronto and Vaughan, Ontario.
Sorry, I'm Beck. We want to know where people are.
Sorry.
It's data. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Effie, for your question. And it's cool because you got like a light, you look like you have like a halo when you're talking to us. Yes, well, Brother Victor will be my I guess my witness for this. I've never in my life ever not looked at myself as a global African. So when you make the decision to put me at the helm of an organization, although I have geopolitical objectives, my idea is that we are global Black people. So I've had the good fortune, even just at the beginning of this work, to be able to speak to different leaders in different Black countries, on the continent, and as well in the Caribbean, and even in South America. And there's a big interest in what FACE does. I'm a part of MyPad, and I was fortunate enough to be the keynote speaker this year. And a lot of people are like, what is this thing that you guys have built in Canada where you've convinced your government to invest in businesses? And I'm ready to take that message to the world, because I really believe that in Canada, the Black community of Canada has a unique opportunity in the essence that we're 1.5 million Black people. This is the perfect lab to test and innovate solutions for Black people. Not only that, we're not homogeneous as a community. We have people who have been here before Canada was a country. The Caribbean wave that my parents came in, I'm first generation, I have kids. Then there's a wave of from the African continent that now is the fastest growing community in Alberta. There's so much, there's so many layers to our Black Canadian experience here in Canada. If we come up with a solution that can show its efficiency and show the outcomes, if we are mindful that that could be adapted in other parts of the world where Black people or people of African descent are, then we could be the solution for economic independence and sovereignty to many Black brothers and sisters around the world. So that's how I dream. That's when I dream in Technicolor, when I'm not resting. That's what I think about. So I think that we have to focus on our lab here, get the machine to be running in a way that is so efficient and that it's documented how in which we deliver. And then that model can then be tested in other regions of the world with the support of those communities, obviously at the helm, and their governments and their stakeholders, to see how FACE can be, how FACE can go to the world.
Ashe, Ashe. Thank you so much for your question, Effia, and brilliant response as always, my sister Tiffany. Thank you. Dr. Joan, go ahead. And it's good to see you.
Tiffany, it's good to see you.
Dr.
Thank
Joan.
you for all that you have, just shared with us. It's always amazing to listen to the pioneers, So as a pioneer, one of the things that I myself am always cognizant of is a desire not to repeat the system that has been oppressing us, right? And so a lot of times, we get into certain spaces and we want to do something different. And there's a lot that we can learn from, I guess the capitalistic society, but, I think there's also a mandate for the pioneers to set a foundation that looks very different, not crooked, not, necessarily a part of the old system, but something that's new. Can you talk to us about how the FACE model is different and what you're hoping that will do for our children's children, as you mentioned?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Joan, for the question. It's nice to see you again. I think the FACE model is interesting from the beginning. We'll start at the top. We wrote our own credit policy, which means that we set our own criteria, which means that we are able to open the aperture for access to capital that is different from financial institutions, which is often the bottleneck to where we have difficulty getting in. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that we've innovated? No, what it means is that we've adjusted a system that does have critical elements in it that allows for us to have longevity. You can imagine, Dr. Joan, I think before the loan program even opened, when we announced the organization, the immediate thing was, why wasn't this grants, right? People yelling in my face, why didn't you get us grants? And I said, well, because when you give away grants, once they're gone, they're gone. There's no ability for us to be able to grow a loan book and be
Yeah.
able to then be able to take the principal and the interest that is accumulated through a loan and reinvest it all back into the loan program to continue to lend to other entrepreneurs and make those investments, which is exactly what's done, by the way, with the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund. All capital is reinvested back into the loan fund for then to be distributed again. One of the ways in which I think we definitely have to innovate beyond being able to being in control of our credit policy, ensuring that the people who are underwriting loans, approving loans are members of our own community. So applying that 6C, which is culture, and understanding that shared lived experience and the ability to engage with people who apply for financing to explain where they need to perhaps review or get support. I think that is important and critical. But the things that I look at is how are we going to continue to innovate and grow to continue to serve a broader cross-section of our community. For example, when I think about the Black Muslim community here in our country, they are not getting utilized, they are not unable to utilize the loan program as it's designed because of interest. So the question now becomes, what can we do as a community or as FACE to be able to make sure that we are responding to the different needs of our community based on their own value system. And that is not done in the mainstream at all. So that in and of itself would be innovative. I want to draw our attention to the fact that money management is not new to us. You know, we are the people of susus, we are the people of turns and hands. But the thing is with those systems is that in order for them to grow, we do have to look at models that allow for growth. So when you have a turn, everybody's putting in the same amount of money and you get your turn. But the problem is that turn remains as big at that turn. Your turn is only as big as what you're willing to put in. Whereas in this case, depending with having a loan program where we invest all the principal and interest back into the loan fund, this does allow for growth. And it does allow for us to also attract investors who are willing to invest patient capital because they understand the objective is to create access for people who typically do not in the regular system. So that's the way in which we've innovated. That's the way in which we've addressed the challenge for access to capital for our community. And what I'm excited about is I work with a team that is not short of any ideas or concepts. We just need time to bring them into fruition and also to find the right partners so that we don't find ourselves at the mercy of others and their objectives, but that they align themselves with what we're trying to achieve.
Nice.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Dr. Joan, for attending and the question. Thank you so much, Tiffany. And just for the purposes of the conversation, myself, my brother Atif from North Pine Foundation, Lena Carroll from New Market Funds, Sally from ESDC, Susan from Tapestry, Phil Sanvera from Verge Capital, Wayne Miranda, and MJ from the BC Housing Protection Fund all came together twice now around an Islamic finance framework. So if anyone's interested in Sharia law and it's Islamic finance and 0% interest, please send me an email. I'll leave my email in the chat because there's a lot of conversations happening about that. And there's also a remarkable organization called Abrahamic Finance that's doing some great work. So I just want to plug that in there to make sure that folks can do study after this session. With that being said, we're going to move on to Kwamina Mensah. Go ahead, brother.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for all the tremendous work you're doing in the Black community. I really appreciate that. My question is, do major banks make direct investments or do they partner with FACE Coalition?
So we have no major banks that make direct investments. The only bank that we work with is the Business Development Bank of Canada, the BDC, who have made an investment of $130 million, the Canadian government. And then we have credit unions. So that's Vancity and Alterna. So ultimately, the way that we work at FACE is that we do all of the intake for the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund. All processing happens at FACE. So the intake, submission of applications, review, underwriting, and approval happens at FACE. And then it is sent over to our partners, the BDC, Alterna, and Vancity for AML, KYC, and disbursement. Because you imagine, I had 2.5 months to stand this thing up. I didn't have the infrastructure to go end to end, LOS to disbursement. But this is also something that's on the roadmap to ensure that we have that autonomy in our own operations as well. But that is how it works. Now, when I speak about private capital, there is underworks the engagement with private equity to be able to be invested into our project. But the reason why, again, it is important to be assured of who you're bringing to the table is because they have to align with our objectives. They have to understand that we are a community that is building our economic autonomy, and we built a framework that we've put in motion to be able to create the outcomes that we want to see and that we're measuring, because we can't know what will look like in 10 years. We have to do the journey of 10 years to look back and to be able to assess. So this is the work that we're doing right now. So there are no banks at the table. Once upon a time, there were banks that were brought to the table by government, but we were able to make our first raise independent of the big six, but still remain in contact and hope to have conversations with them where we can work together to make sure that the journey of entrepreneurs in this country gives them many doors to walk through. FACE can be one, but they should also have the opportunity to walk through any other bank across this country and feel as though that they're being responded to and that they're given the opportunity to have the capital that we need. And we have to make sure that they go in prepared to do so.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if anything, FACE is showing how it should be done, like what banking Black looks like. So I give thanks for your leadership. We're going to go to our beloved colleague and sister, Monique.
Hi, Tiffany. How are you?
I'm fine.
I have a quick question, but I just wanted to, on behalf of Dream Legacy, I wanted to thank you for your participation today in what we call our ecosystem conversations, right? So thank you for, being part of such an impactful community and your leadership. We all aspire to the work that you're doing for us, and we really appreciate that. And that lends into my question that we understand that, the work that you're doing at FACE and, the amount of hard work it is for you yourself as an entrepreneur. And you mentioned that there are some supports that the community can help you with, right? We can make sure that they're doing better business plans, right? And we know you need rest as well. That's important too. But what are the other ways that the community, what are the other things that the community can do to help ensure that this initiative that FACE has brought forward is successful?
Thank you, Monique, for that question. There's lots of ways. And the way that I'm going to lean towards what we need to do for our entrepreneurs, okay? This is very simple, basic stuff. If I'm giving loans to businesses to be able to, whether it's to buy equipment or, working capital or whatever it is to bulk up marketing, whatever it is, then as a community, you know how you actually de-risk these loans? Buy from them, use their services, circulate your dollar with these Black businesses so that they are then making the revenue that allows for us to safeguard the fact that they're able to pay back this debt. So that is something that I would say, and we've written about this. We have a great blog section on our website at facecoalition.com. It's because we want to highlight the different pieces that the different roles that we have to play. So when people say, what can we do to help entrepreneurs? Well, we've got ecosystem organizations that are helping with business plans and helping with financial strategies. Even myself at FACE, I said, well, we had TD as an opportunity to say, how can we work together to help entrepreneurs? That's how we came up with the Propelling Black Entrepreneurs program. So we can continue to do that work. You hear the Knowledge Hub now has started mapping out the resources across the country so entrepreneurs can find out where the resources are in different parts of the country, have access to get that support. I've talked about the importance of proper information, systems, all of these things. These are done through wonderful workshops like this, where I see these things happen all the time in our community. Now I'm saying as consumers, we need to make sure that we buy from these Black-owned businesses. And the last thing I'll say that we can do as a community is each one tell one. If you're not involved in you're not an entrepreneur, you don't own a business, none of that, but you heard the information that's here today, find a Black entrepreneur and tell them about it. Point them in the direction of the support that they could get. I think that that's one of the things that we should never hoard information, whether it personally, directly or indirectly affects us. It is all for the benefit of all of us. So I would say amplify the work that's being done in these organizations to help entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs we have to make strong our entrepreneurship and business owner class to make sure of the wealth of our community increases. And by wealth, I don't just mean monetary. I think that it'll have a ripple effect to our wellness and our prosperity as a community. So those are the things I would say that you can continue to do. to support this initiative, which is supporting Black entrepreneurs. And I think then I'll be able to take a really good nap.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's absolutely beautiful. So, as always, we began on time, very punctual, and as
Yes.
always, we'll end on time, very punctual. So, Tiffany, do you have any closing thoughts or a call to action to the folks here or to the global listeners and viewers that I'm sure will see this at some points?
I will say, please visit our website at facecoalition.com. Follow us on all of our socials at Face Coalition. Each one tell one. It's Black History Month, but I said at the beginning, it's Black Futures Month. Let's make it that next year we come back to a conversation like this and we say, what have we done over the last 12 months to move our collective agenda forward? That is the way in which we need to look at February. History is made every day. Today is a tomorrow we dreamt about yesterday. You like that one? That's a very good one. It's something that guides me all the time. So make sure that the actions you take today, when we come back and we are in communion with each other, we can talk about what we did for our future and how we've now created a history that we're proud of.
Ashe, 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 merasi pa, my beloved sister. Folks that joined, can you please fill out the survey, support the ecosystem mapping work of the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub. The surveys that we put in the chat once again. And as always, we close the way we began as a community, by acknowledging, giving thanks to our creator, by acknowledging the original stewards, the various lands we're on. We acknowledge all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation, all those who said freedom or death, and whose bones lie at the bottom of the transatlantic. We acknowledge and give thanks to all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for all that you do for so many. I so appreciate you, my sister.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Be safe and be well.